Hey everybody, welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and today we're taking a look at another Spider-Man statue from Diamond Select. Everybody's favorite wall crawler has had many statues from Diamond, from Gentle Giant, Iron Studios, a whole bunch of other places. He's not exactly that unfamiliar to being put out in statue form. But I've got a piece for you today to take a look at that I think is a little bit more manageable on both your wallet and your space. And that's because today we're taking a look at, well, Spider-Man. I already said it, it's Spider-Man. But this version from Diamond Select is a Spider-Sense version of Spider-Man. I don't know why I went like Spider-Sense, like it's some kind of mystical thing, but this is a Spider-Sense version of Spidey. And all that really means is that he's got some little Spidey sense thingy sticking out of his head. The nice thing about this piece is that it's a 1/7 scale piece. So it's gonna be pretty small, but not too small. It's gonna be, I think, a nice size. It's gonna fit fairly well within most displays, whether you're a big giant statue collector or someone who's doing action figures or someone who just wants a nice piece in general but doesn't want to have it take up too much space. So let's just talk about this packaging real quick here. And like all the resin pieces, because this is a resin piece from Diamond Select, they're all packaged like this, not like the PVC ones. There are no windows. It's all just a simple cardboard box. This one, I will say, has more design work than the typical resin pieces we've seen. Normally, they're just black. There's black, maybe a logo, and an image of the statue. In this case, we have, again, a statue, but we also have the logo. We got some blue, we got some red, we got some spiderweb patterns happening here. So there's a little bit more, I don't want to say effort compared to those other ones, but yeah, actually there is a little more effort compared to those. On the sides, we have images of, again, the same statue, and likewise opposite side, exact same thing. But on the back, we do have a little bit more of a bio about Spider-Man, which is kind of cool. Normally, these resin pieces do not have bios at all, but this time we do have a little small one here. And again, talk about design work, there actually is some stuff happening in the packaging. It's not just black, and I kind of like this. It really helps make the statue stand out a lot when you're looking at it. There's also some more information about the piece itself. It also lets us know that it's a 1/7 scale, that it's limited to only 3,000 pieces, and most importantly, it's designed by Nelson X Asensio and sculpted by Juan Pitlook. So full credit to those artists for making this piece. And each of these statues will come with a number on the bottom, letting you know your individual number for each statue, as well as a certificate of authenticity, and I believe the bottom of this is also going to have a little number 2 for it. But that's all well and good, that's all the packaging stuff. But let's go ahead and get this wall crawler out of the box and take a closer look at him from all angles. Alright, and here is our Spider-Man mini bust out of the packaging. Let's do a quick rotation as I give you guys my initial thoughts on this piece. And admittedly, the first thing I think of when I actually do see this piece is, wow, this is actually pretty darn small. I don't know what I was expecting because, you know, the package does let you know this is a 6-inch statue. It's a 6-inch mini bust. I guess in my head I didn't quite put together 6 inches or whatever. I'm used to, I guess, for the most part, quite honestly, dealing with a lot of pieces that are way bigger from Diamond and Gentle Giant and others. So that's not a negative, that's just a quick observation. It's not a bad thing at all, but really I'm actually quite impressed overall with how this piece looks, the different elements that are in this. It's actually quite stunning, so I'm very pleasantly surprised about it. The size, it really means nothing to me. Everything else about it, though, is quite excellent. So I do want to point out, by the way, that as I mentioned earlier, this comes with a certificate. Now, I do want to point out, as I mentioned earlier, let me move over Spidey for a second. This does come with a certificate of authenticity. And as I mentioned earlier also, mine is a 0 because this is a pre-production. And as I mentioned earlier, mine is a 0 because this is a production sample. So it's not, in fact, numbered, which is pretty darn cool. So that's how the COA is going to look when you get it. But let's jump into the statue itself here. And I want to do that by first talking about that likeness. And does this look like Spider-Man? Well, yeah, I would say it absolutely does look like Spidey. Totally looks like old Webhead. It definitely looks like a very alert version of Spider-Man, as it should be, because this has got him with his Spidey sense all tingling, and he's freaking out a little bit. You know, it is kind of funny, though, because of the Spider-Sense stuff that he's got going on in his head, he almost looks a little bit more like Electro, especially the way that's designed. That totally is like how Electro would look, but looks really nice. It does look really good. I think it's a nice looking head. I like the weathering on the Spidey as well here. You know, I will say too, you know, one of the reasons I'm having some trouble moving him around right now is because I'm trying to make sure that he's in focus. And because he is a very dark colored Spider-Man, it's a little bit hard to tell like when he's actually in focus and when he's not. So maybe I'll move him around a little bit less for this video. Proceeds to move statue around more. But yeah, you can see what I mean though. I think this looks really nice. This is like a Marvel Masterpieces figure put out in 3D form. So head looks really nice. You know, there's no likeness per se because There's not like, a Peter Parker underneath us or anything. It's more just about the feeling of Spider-Man, the essence of Spider-Man. And I think that the head absolutely captures it. Like I said, I like how alert he looks. I like the Statue of Liberty things he's got pointing out of his head that represent the spider sense. So overall, very nice. I really like how dark and foreboding this statue is. And I think that's kind of the key to this piece is the foreboding nature of this, because after all, it is Spidey with his Spidey sense active. So let's just do a quick pan down now, and we'll show you guys the body up close right now. And again, you can see it's a very dark piece. Like that red and that blue, these aren't like the bright red and blue you'd see with like the animated series pieces or typically most other Spideys. This is a very dark and almost kind of ominous Spider-Man statue too in a lot of ways. You guys can really see here, especially my hand here, is kind of like, I guess we'll say like a base. It's very dark, it's very weathered. This isn't like bright at all. This is a deep crimson, a fairly deep dark blue that's like got a lot of black undertones in it as well. It's almost like Batman the Animated Series, but if they did a Spider-Man statue. That's the best way to put it, I think. Likewise, you can see it from the back too. Like, I know in post-production, I'm going to try and make this thing look brighter for you guys, but just looking at it now, I'm like, man, this guy is dark. But I don't dislike that. Not all Spidey pieces need to be super bright, super blue. I think this one, it's very acceptable to have it be darker, because especially this blue, it is so deep and dark, and it's like you're staring into the abyss maybe a little bit, but it's cool. I like his arm too. Again, just seeing all the darkness in there. Another thing too I like about the statue is the body on our Spider-Man here. Like, it's a very lanky Spidey, and that's also accurate who Spider-Man should be. Shouldn't be a giant, bulky, muscle-bound character. He needs to be lanky and slender, agile and quick, and this definitely has that. I mean, it's a very, very, swole Spidey, of course, because he is Spider-Man. He's a comic book character, and he's meant to be big and buff, but he's not enormous, doesn't have like Arnold Schwarzenegger pecs coming out of him. He feels like he's very agile, on the move, and again, that kind of adds to the alertness of the statue too. I feel like if you had to be like really big and bulky, that wouldn't feel like Spider Sense, that would just feel like whatever. This feels like more approachable to the idea of Spider Sense, to the idea of something is happening, he needs to jump into it, and a little bit of fear also. There's no apprehension with him, and that's because of Spider-Man's pose here. It's him jumping into action, like he's ready to go. You could see by the way his fingers are, the way his body is posed, but with the curve of his chest over here and the way his back is kind of hunched over too, and of course with the Spidey sense, you could tell like something just took him by surprise, something he wasn't expecting. So he's not shying away from it, but it's definitely a surprise, and it's one that he's ready and willing to face. And I think that says a lot about the character if I'm able to get all of that story from this one pose, from this one way that this statue is. It's a very strong pose. Now let's talk about this base a little bit also. I feel like that's an important element, and the base is just a pile of rocks. It's a pile of rubble. I always like Diamond and Gentle Giant's bases, though. This one is, as you can see, nothing super duper fancy, and a lot of times they are like that too. They're not always going to be like super detailed, lots of different things and pipes and such jutting out of them. I mean, this piece is meant to be a little bit smaller, obviously, so it's not going to be as base intensive, but it's got good detail, good texture on it, so I like it. It's simple, but it gets you to the point, and that's kind of what you want with the statue also, is just kind of get on to whatever the point of the statue is meant to be about, which ultimately, at the end of the day, is Spidey himself. And another reason too, I think that it's such this like kind of simple gray tone is because we are talking about Spider-Man, and he is a red and blue character. These are very bright, bold primary colors that we're looking at, and you kind of need to have something a little bit dimmer to balance that out. So I think it totally works. So overall, I think the one thing that kind of has like me almost stuck the most, I guess you could say, really is the head itself, because of all the little Spidey sense things. And I feel like that's going to be the determining factor for a lot of folks who are thinking about buying the statue, is whether or not they like this Statue of Liberty Spider-Man head that's here. Do folks actually like how this looks? Because doing a Spidey sense is tough. It definitely was a challenge for these statue makers to figure this out. I think they accomplished it. Personally, I probably would have liked it more if they didn't have this, to be honest, but I also understand what they were going for. They wanted to go for something different, and let's get real here, folks. Spider-Man has had so many statues in so many different sizes, shapes, colors, formats, so I tip my hat to them for trying something different, and I think it works. It just takes some getting used to. Of course, I could be in the minority about that, but you guys let me know in the comments what you think about the Spidey sense. Is it effective? Does it get the point across? Or is it just too darn distracting? But overall, I really enjoy this piece here. I like the size. That's actually one of the things I like about it. Even though it's the first thing I pointed out because it is quite obvious, I like the size. I like that it's smaller. I like that it's not going to take up a ton of space wherever I put it. I love enormous, huge statues, of course, don't get me wrong, but I also appreciate it when it's something like this size that's more accessible, easier to put in a desk somewhere, and really just isn't going to clutter up my space either. So it's very nice, very clean. I like the darkness about this piece. I like the story that this piece tells, and that to me is very, very important when you have a statue, is you want it to tell a story, I think. So overall, very nice, and price point as well. I believe this guy's selling for $120, and that price will, I'm sure, fluctuate no matter where you get it from. Keep in mind, it is a resin piece, it's a solid piece, and it's overall not just solid in weight, but just solid as an actual statue. So definitely giving it a recommend. Now, if you'd like this Spider-Man statue for your collection, please check out my affiliate links in the description of this video below. I'm gonna have some places where you can pick this piece up at different prices, and if you click any of those links and make a purchase, it helps out this YouTube channel at no extra cost to you. So thank you for doing that. As far as this Spidey goes, I can't say enough good things about it because I really do like it a lot. It's a great little piece here, and I think you're gonna be pretty happy with it in your home too. So that's our look at the Spider-Man Spider Sense version of his statue from Diamond Select, designed by Nelson X Asensio, sculpted by Juan Pitlook, and limited to only 3,000 pieces, as well as this sample that you're seeing right here. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys swinging into action next time.